Hi, I'm Crystal Lucas Perry, and I take on John Adams.
Hi, I'm Shauna Hammock, and I play Richard Henry Lee of Virginia.
I'm Jazzelle Adisa, and I play Robert Livingston.
I'm Carolee Carmelo. I play John Dickinson.
My name is Mehri Eslamenia. I play Charles Thompson, the Congressional Secretary.
Joanna Glushak, and I play Stephen Hopkins, the old drunk.
My name is Becca Ayers, and I play Colonel Thomas McKeon, the Scottish guy.
I play Thomas Jefferson, and my name is Elizabeth A. Davis.
I am Tiffany Barbour. I play Andrew McNair, Congressional Custodian.
My name is Liz Michael. My pronouns are she and her, and I play John Hancock.
Yes, I'm Lulu Picard. I'm playing Sam Chase.
My name is Onika Phillips, and I play Joseph Hughes of North Carolina. But in fact, I am Onika of Grenada in the Caribbean.
I'm Shelby Acosta, and I'm one of the standbys.
My name is Sarah Porkolov, and I play South Carolina Delegate Edward Rutledge.
I am Salome B. Smith, and I play the Courier.
Tishma Saha, I play Judge James Wilson of Pennsylvania.
My name is Jeffrey Page, and I'm the co-director with Diane Paulus, and I'm also the choreographer of the show.
I'm Diane Paulus. I am the co-director of 1776 the Musical.
I want to ask you about the process of kind of reimagining the show that is 1776 in this new way.
Yeah, it's just been such an open environment where during the pandemic, a lot of theater-related issues with like gender and ethnicity was brought up a lot, and this room is exactly what I picture the change in this industry to be. Everyone was open and speaking about how they felt and how they felt being like me being Mexican in the room and how I bring that to characters, and it's just a really safe space, and I'm so excited to bring that to the show.
I mean, in a nutshell, it has been wild, chaotic, and fulfilling. I think similar and yet so different from what these old white guys were trying to do in Congress. They were trying to create a brand new government for a brand new nation, and we, with this incredible inclusive cast, we're really trying to create a new industry culture in the room when we were approaching this play. So we've definitely had our ups and our downs, and I think we're all so thankful to be here on opening night, knowing that all of the work that we put into it was happening in the rehearsal room. Even while the audience isn't able to see that, they're able to see us on stage, and that's pretty awesome.
Well, I think for me personally, it wasn't hard because, and this is between you and me, I've never seen the show.
It's okay.
I've never even seen the movie. And when the invitation came in March from Diane to play Robert, I was tempted to watch the movie, but I didn't. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I would have had these preconceived ideas of what we're doing. Like, am I going to be wearing a white wig and fully being this person? But no, with hers and Jeffrey's reiteration of it, we are ourselves. We are heightened versions of ourselves, stepping into the shoes of these dead old white men.
Right.
You know, and I'm not white, and I'm not a man. So I'm going to bring my perspective to it, no matter what I do or how I try or how amazing an actress I am. It's still going to have an element of myself, which feels kind of naughty.
Yeah.
It's just so different for like most projects I do, most TV and film. It's Jazzelle is dropped off, and you have to be that character. So this has been really fun and also really challenging. Yeah.
Sure. Honestly, to have Diane and Jeffrey's direction in this has kind of been the key component of it all. When they kind of came up with the concept of reimagining this show, I think they brought together a really awesome group of people to do it, because I think we've all done it with talent and grace and wisdom, and it's been a very collaborative process, and I feel really lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, I will say, even when my agent first sent me this, in 2020, he was like, "Oh, you have a call to go in for Abigail Adams," and I was like, "What? In what show?" And he was like, 1776, which I'd only seen once at the time, and saw it very traditionally, and I was like, "Are you sure?" What's that? So I was very intrigued by it just to begin with, but it's been really interesting to watch it and to see which different roles are played by which different people, and why that would be significant, and why it matters, and who's saying what. It really does. We don't think about it a lot, but seeing someone and listening to what they're saying really does give you a different perspective. It lets you hear the words differently. It does. And that's what we're certainly hoping to do, is that, just these words that were always spoken by white men, do you hear them differently? How do you hear them differently? Do you want to hear them differently? Because there's all these different people saying them.
In the reimagining of this, not only am I actually finding myself a little more interested in history, because it's like, how do I access this in order to portray it to people that are like me? But also, the reimagining has made me listen to things differently, see things differently, and on the theatrical side of things, I'm in a show that I never would have had a place in before.
I read this script and felt like it was speaking to America today. And I knew in my gut that we could build a production of this show that was from the 1960s, looking back at history from 1776, and make it feel like it was pulsing with America today. And that was my inspiration to build a company of incredible actors that represent multiple expressions of race, ethnicity, gender, folks that identify as female, trans, non-binary, that we could tell American history and invite an audience, not to just look at history as a relic from the past, but to hold at the same time a vision and a reality of America today. The whole concept for our production is that we have a troupe of actors who are alive and thriving in 2022. And they have all this multiple representation of race, ethnicity, gender, trans, non-binary, female identifying. And we want the audience to see them. Yes. So we start with that, and then these incredible humans step into the shoes of the Founding Fathers, metaphorically and literally. And I think by doing that, we're inviting the audience not to forget who they are. Mm-hmm. We're actually saying, can you as an audience hold two realities at once? Can you hold the beauty of all these people who are reflecting America today, and hear the text in you by holding their identity and hearing the words of Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and Edward Rutledge, and the difficult, compromising, problematic things that happened that were part of the founding of this country. This whole journey started at the ART. That was our artistic home where we could create this production. We played it for 10 weeks in front of packed houses, and we learned about the show. And then this opportunity to bring it to New York and go back into rehearsal and refine it and deepen it has been a total joy and super rewarding for the show. With every show that I've created at ART, the journey to Broadway is exciting because it just gives you a chance to make the work better, to make it deeper, and to give the cast a chance to keep doing the show and introduce it to more and more audiences. So it's been an incredible ride. We were really lucky because the estates of Sherman Edwards and Peter Stone were super supportive of this production. And one thing I'm really proud of is we wrote to Mary Stone, that's Peter Stone's widow, and asked if we could insert some of Abigail Adams' most famous words, which are, remember the ladies, all men would be tyrants if they could, you know. If you do not give us voice and representation, we will foment a rebellion. That was said by Abigail Adams in March of 1776. Peter Stone had taken Abigail and John's correspondence from their historical letters and put it in the play. Sure. But these famous words were missing, remember the ladies. So we asked the estate, that's Mary Stone, Peter Stone's widow, if we could add these words in the spirit of how Peter constructed the script, take them from the letters word for word, and they gave us their blessing. So for the first time in 1776 history, we get to hear Remember the Ladies!
It's been scary. It's been scary. It's been a lot of fun. It's been imagine something that's only an idea, that it doesn't have precedence, so therefore you don't know how to describe it. There is no formula, so you have to find things that link. So it's been a brain challenge, but it's been really, really exhilarating and awesome, all at the same time. So I'm wearing this hoodie, and it features the work of Jean-Michel Basquiat. And Jean-Michel Basquiat was an artist who was daring and audacious and bold. He disrupted the cultural norms. Also, Titus Kaphar is another artist. So all throughout this piece, we were looking at artists. We were looking at Jimi Hendrix. We were looking at ways that art exists in the world, and ways that art distorts itself in order to communicate something new and something different and something bigger and bolder. And that was our guiding light. People like Jean-Michel Basquiat, people like Jimi Hendrix, people like Titus Kaphar, that was our guiding light.
If you could change anything in the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, what would it be and why? I mean, that's a loaded question.
Well, it's tough, right? Because I never want to actually create any suffering to anyone. But I have to say that at this point, I don't actually want to change anything. That's crazy to say, right? But in the sense of, one, I know that I wouldn't be standing on this stage, and it wouldn't carry the weight of what happened. Obviously, if there was a way to include, enslaved persons as people, there's that. But I know that there is a lesson that is to be learned, and as we know, history repeats itself. Yep. So if it wasn't going to happen then, it was going to happen, at some other time. And one of the things that I'm actually excited to say, especially with myself, is that you can't take away what happened. You can't take away that these artists are doing this show in this time. And sometimes it's that cementing in history that is actually the most important thing to know how we move forward, right? So to change things at this point means that possibly we wouldn't be in this room. So I'm hesitant to mess with things, and I'm only actually looking forward and learning from what history has taught us. Yeah. And that's actually the most important thing, is that if we're not learning from it, then we're going to repeat it.
Slavery. I mean, obviously the biggest one. That's a hard question, just because the Constitution itself is just so fine. It's such a singular thing that there's so many things that much bigger than the Constitution that I would have wanted to change and still want to change. But obviously, just anything eradicating slavery and the taking of this land from the people who, basically got eradicated, those are the things that I would have wanted to change in the first place, and for that to have never happened. Absolutely. So,
it is loaded, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that this. Wow, that is a tough question, because we can all go to, slavery parts and all those things kind of got overturned, and the enslavement and, Second Amendment rights. There's so many things I couldn't even nail it down, because there's definitely some room for improvement.
I would probably be very specific about the Second Amendment. Because it pertained to guns that you need to stuff that take minutes, and by the time your temper has gone down, maybe you shot off one, not like an AR-15 or so. I would say that generally speaking, I wish that the Constitution was seen more as a living, editable document according to the people that are living in that time. And as the people change and the zeitgeist change and the needs change, so does that document, but still with the essence of the original, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I mean, it's just this basic equality for all.
Yeah. I know. How much time you got?
Well, it's not that. I was thinking, how many Twitter followers do I want to lose? No. If I could change anything about the Constitution, I wish there was a clause in it that described it as a living document, and that the realization that interpretations are normal, and that as the world changes and as communication changes, so many things, the definitions change, and language does that. And we want language to be stagnant, but it just never is, and concepts never are. And so in order to get into their heads, it's not possible. So I think that if there could be anything in the Constitution, I wish that they had thought forward and said, maybe let's have a convention every 50 years and look at it again. Or maybe there's a way to look at it, because I think that it can grow with us as we grow. We just have to learn to read it correctly.
Oh my gosh. All of it. I would probably just including more colors and more genders, and I would say an open mind. I would want people to go in more with an open mind when they were writing it. And that would shape the entire thing into something completely different if that had happened.
Oh, I'd change everything. I'd change everything. The reality is our nation is a nation that was founded on white supremacist ideology. And what that has meant for so many people. And let's be real, white supremacy hurts white people too. So I would just scratch it and start all over again.
I would definitely be a bit more detailed about how we're all created equal.
I wouldn't just pick one thing. I would just like to remind the government and the people that these are supposed to be living documents, that, with the time, the people change and the people learn new vocabulary for what they need and what we're like and what we know. And so our documents that dictate our government and dictate our system should also change with us, because nothing is supposed to stay the same. That's nature. Nature is change, nature is growth. And so we should also change with that along with the documents.
As a person of color in the show, playing or having a scene partner with someone who fought against your rights, what has that process kind of been like for you as a performer?
It's been interesting. I will say I lucked out playing Abigail Adams, who was with John Adams. They did not own slaves. And also playing John Witherspoon, who's a reverend, who, I'm sure a man of the, not I'm sure, I know a man of the times, but he was a reverend. He also was from New Jersey. He also did not own slaves. So we are thankful for those who think, so I didn't have to tap into myself and be like, ugh, this is awful. But being on, it is different in those scenes, those big delegation scenes, when we're talking about what needs to be written, what needs to be added, what needs to be taken out, and thinking that these men really thought that they were doing the best thing at the time. And so, we're talking about economy, we're talking about what's going to keep the country running, what's going to, keep them having money, what we're going to do because we're at war during it. And it is really, it's easier now because we've been doing it for a while. But at the beginning, it was a strange kind of just out of body experience to be like, wow, I am really in a room right now discussing whether or not slavery should happen. That's an insane thing to even think about, that obviously I don't want, but to hear the history of it and to have all the research that we had with our, wonderful dramaturg, Robert Duffley, shout out, to really get in the minds and the backgrounds of these men. It's crazy to think that that they really thought they were doing the correct thing. That's what's nuts, yeah.
Yeah, I think ultimately, when I'm in the room as a person, first and foremost, not even so much as an artist, but as a person, I don't want to spend any of my energy worrying about the ghosts of white people past who have tried to invisibilize and erase me. So when I'm in the room, I'm there really to empower myself and my fellow castmates and to reimagine what our culture could look like. So I would say it's a decision for me to be in the room and to feel empowered, and to not really care so much about my marginalizations, because I don't want them to continue to affect me.
Well, first of all, the duality never escapes me while I'm on stage, right? Because I'm hearing somebody, even myself, I'm advocating for the lives of African Americans and Black Americans and enslaved persons, and I myself am one, right? So it's very, very meta and out of body sometimes, because you're in a character, but you're also can't deny who you are. Being able to be surrounded by these artists and the conversations that have come up have literally just reshaped the way that I look at the world, the way that I look at myself, the way that I look at theater and the power of what it can do. I find myself, having conversations with my castmates that I would never have had otherwise, because the material lends it to. We started this project, I was a part of this project back in 2019, when it had its very first reading. And so all the way up until now, Jeffrey and Diane and I, we've been having such, intricate conversations about what it means to step into history in this way. Yeah. And so that dialogue, the research that we've done so that we're actually able to be informed and full when we step onto that stage in a way, knowing what we're carrying with us. It just informs everything that we do when we're stepping on to that stage. And so it's been an honor, it's been a privilege, and it's also just been really exciting getting to know a group of people that I would have never collaborated with in such a way, because the show has never been done in this way.
Well, I mean, I think that we've all, as we were rehearsing, we laid a lot of things on the table, and we had talks even 2 years ago when we were doing the Zoom workshop as to how, those things were, and we delved deep with Harvard professors and got a lot of things out in the open. So that allowed us to get in this rehearsal process with no bias. I don't think that there was any bias to begin with. Like, everybody's in the community and everyone's a performer and creative, and we're all around every kind of person, thing on the planet. So, but to open those doors as to something that you might not normally talk about in a show on the regular was definitely, I think, an experience for all of us to be able to lay everything on the table of how we really felt. And not to have, there was never any negativity or never any bias about it, but just to be in a safe space to say what you feel and say how you feel about it and how it affects you and how you maybe grew up and other people that you know, and to like be okay with just like talking about it. We don't all talk about it. We really don't. We just glaze over and then we see things on the news. But to be able to just have conversations regularly.
I have some pretty hard boundaries for myself as an actor. So there's the actor doing the work, right? And then there is the person who interacts with my fellow human beings and friends, actors who become friends. So I have processes in understanding that they're not one and the same, right? There is the information that has happened in the past, and they are in those roles to depict that, and I understand that. So them as persons, I don't create a feeling of dislike or misunderstanding to them, but certainly to the persons that they're playing and the persons that I'm playing. The person that I'm playing was a slave owner, right? It's coming into an understanding that I have an opportunity to show who they were, but also who I think they were. That doesn't happen often. Often it's like, here's exactly who they are, and that's all you get. But I get to actually portray what I've learned, the research, the understanding that brilliant men can also engage in depravity, in the owning of human bodies. But my fellow actors are doing exactly what I'm doing it. They're displaying that and showing that and making that clear to the audience. But I don't hold that against them, right? And then off stage, the process is understanding that it is depiction, right? And so the wind down, the cool down, the release is important so that I'm not holding within my cellular composition the detriment of some of the things that we're discussing.
It's been interesting because I've actually been able to relate in my own personal life so much to this character and dealing with what all is happening in the world and just those things that are being counteractive against you. It's been very eye-opening. It has also even allowed me to analyze my own life as well.
How empowering has it been to be in a room full of female, non-binary, and transgender performers?
I think that there is an element of we're taking for granted how wonderful the room feels, or I know I have in moments taken for granted how wonderful the room feels. There are a lot of things that are just unspoken. There are a lot of things that you're able to just assume because you know people around you are understanding in kind of a visceral, cellular way. And that is helpful shorthand in a creative process because there's so much to do in a creative process when you're trying to build something this massive and this organic.
In some ways, it's like every other process.
Yeah.
And in some ways, there's a lot of common experiences that we have that we can bring in and have a shorthand to talk about, just like any affinity group would have. So it's been wonderful to be with this multi-generational cast because the number of years of experience in the room and then people just coming into the business, the blend of that has been really, really fascinating. And we also have someone in the cast who's pregnant.
Yes.
You know, so it's kind of every variation that you can think of, and it is a vibrant, stunning place to be.
I wouldn't say it feels any different. However, what I will say is I'm very appreciative of Diane Paulus and Jeffrey Page having this vision and having the guts to be like, we're going to do something different, and we're going to include everybody, and we're going to actually represent what this Constitution is actually, what the Constitution actually should be. America is a melting pot, and that is what this cast looks like. It looks like a melting pot.
It's a really homey room. Also, I'm the youngest in the cast, so for me, I'm just like, whenever I'm not on stage, I am watching my castmates do their work, do their thing, and just like taking it all in, soaking it all in, learning from them. And it's just a privilege. And you know, we're all friends outside of the show too, so we hang out and everyone's just so friendly and so silly and just wonderful.
Well, what are you most excited for audiences to see?
To see the whole show, to see this diverse, multicultural, non-binary, trans, female-born, however, cast, and to see the message that just comes from it, just from us being up there, saying these words, and also the music and the singing is out of this world, and the orchestrations are now new, and people are on their feet after these songs and numbers that are brilliant. That's what I just think they're going to be completely entertained and blown away. It's very thought-provoking and moved.
I'm excited for them to experience this normally all-white men cast and experience it through the lens of different bodies, different genders, different colors, all on stage. And hopefully that leaves them with an open mind and can step into the shoes of all of us and how we feel the Declaration of Independence and see it being told through an important lens.
What makes me really excited to the immigrants, to the non-American children, to the brown children that want to be in theater, like there are places. It's happening. You can be in the shows that you never thought that you could be in before.